And we are live. Welcome, everybody, to another podcast from the Three Bios. This is episode number four?
Well,
Number
well,
four. There we go. I keep forgetting, guys, so I haven't got a clue. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Before we start, I'm going to play a little intro video just so you guys remember to like, share, and subscribe. So let's go and watch it. Hey
three
guys,
clicks.
welcome to another
It's
podcast
all it
from the
needs. Three
Three
clicks, man.
Bios.
Come
If you
on,
are on YouTube, don't forget to like,
come on.
subscribe, and share with a friend. If you are on Spotify, don't forget to enjoy it and give us a 5-star rating. Thanks for watching.
It's free to
Enjoy.
do.
Woo! And we're back. Right then, so in today's video, we're going to take a little look at the Chelsea-Luton game, first of all, and then we're going to go and have a little look at the weekend games. So, Chelsea-Luton. Chelsea 3, Luton 0. Look, let's be honest now, we didn't expect nothing else, to be fair, did we? Let's be real. Maybe that Chelsea might not have scored as many goals, but got to say, from what I've seen of it, it was an absolute masterclass performance from Sterling. Absolute top quality performance.
Yeah.
What do you
The
reckon?
boys cooking, man. The boys cooking. Listen, when Chelsea picked them up the season before last, and City basically discarded him and sold him off for 50 million. Took a look at him in his first season at the Chelsea and all the Chelsea, proper Chelsea and all that. Yeah, he looked he looked a shadow of his former self, man. And it looked like the move when the transfer was a bit of a bust. And then obviously with Chelsea finishing 12th, I think confidence was low all over the squad. But with the start of this season, the Chelsea game against so not really so much in their first game against Liverpool, but since their second game against West Ham, Raheem Sterling has been a man on fire. Honestly, that electric pace he had at his back, that will drive, that close control, that kind of crafty little bit of dribbling that he does from either flank. Yeah. So it's something has taken over him, and he's kind of taken his career by the horns, and he's grabbed it, and he's like, "Listen, no, I'm not done yet." He's still in his late 20s, so yeah, just wonderful to see, really. A player of his quality, kind of back on song, back on form, and he lined up against Luton last night, and he popped up with a really impressive goal, man. There were a lot of dribbles that he was conducting when he was playing against West Ham, which Chelsea lost 3-1 initially. And he was unlucky to really be on the losing team. But last night, he weaved through maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 Luton Town players, and he broke the deadlock. And he gave Chelsea that 1-0 lead at half time going into the break. Chelsea ended up running out comfortable 3-0 winners. Luton Town, obviously, very limited resources, to say the least. I mean, I'm not even sure they're paying their water bill at their stadium because they're not allowed to play there. Yeah. Every one of their games, they have to play. They have to basically play every away game in the Premier League. They don't play any of their home games yet until they sort their stadium situation and issues out, which means that home advantage is obviously not going to fall in their favour. But even if that was the case, I mean, if you look at their squad and it's just littered with personnel that range from Ross Barkley, which is like a proven Premier League player, proven, semi-proven, to your Sam Lockyers and even a couple of pickings from the lower leagues that have climbed their way up the ranks with them. Always a hard task for them. Chelsea ran out 3-0 winners. In the end, they looked a comfortable night, but at least I think Luton made them work for it. I don't see Luton doing much in this league, to be honest. I mean, the quality is not there for them to score goals, to win games, to impact matches, to pick up points on the board. It's looking like a swift trip back down to the Championship for them, if it's based on what I saw last night. Solid, compact, decent, troubled Chelsea in little pockets here and there, but nothing that would have had them running out winners last night. Comfortable 3-0 win for Chelsea. Yeah,
Yeah,
Chelsea.
exactly. And for me, I think they were Luton were trying to be positive when they could. Like they tried to press when they could as much as they could, but they just haven't got that final edge quality. I was actually
No,
quite impressed that a Bondahor they got, or whatever his name is.
Adebayo.
Him as
Adebayo.
well. Him as well. Really good, man. I actually was quite. He's a big guy, isn't he? He's
Yeah,
huge, man. gee, I
Mhm.
looked at him and I was just like, whew, okay, this guy's big.
Yeah.
I was actually quite impressed with him. I think he's got the physicality for the Premier League. Whether he's got the quality remains to be seen. But to be fair, him and that Chong, I think that's the old United one, right? I
He,
believe.
he's strong, yeah, the big frizzy afro, yeah, the Dutch kid
Yeah,
from
he was all right. He was all
he
them
was
two
okay,
were
yeah, he
them
stuck
two
in.
were all right. Yeah, they
Yeah.
might stand out from that, but obviously, nice for Jackson to get on the score sheet finally. He's tried
Oh,
everything to get on that score sheet the last couple of games,
I,
and yeah,
I tell you what, this striker that Chelsea have bought, man, like I know they've had issues in all departments, but I think especially scoring goals last season was a big issue for them. They've tried all sorts of number nines over the years to
yeah,
replace the likes of Drogba and Diego Costa. You've had your Fernando Torres there. You've had the likes of a Lukaku, Higuain, Falcao. Yeah, just an absolute kind of list of top level, big name, elite strikers just turn up at Stamford Bridge and fail. Alvaro Morata, um, Aubameyang, even who's now been shipped off. Um, but with this Nicholas Jackson guy, I got to be honest. Like a lot of people did not know much about him. To be fair,
no,
Senegalese striker. Played kind of a bit of a limited role at Villarreal last season. I think he got like 12 in 17 or something. Nothing to really kind of pull up any trees. A good record still in that limited time that he did play for them. But yeah, picked him up for a snip at around 30 odd million. And
yeah,
look at him, and he's I think he's about 6'1", 6'2", quite slim and slender in frame, athletic. But yeah, I really like the look of this guy. I could tell from minutes of watching him. You know, a couple of the highlights of their preseason games. He's a good ball carrier. He likes to pick it up and drift with it, and then try and kind of glide through the
mm,
defense. He's got a nice little trick in him. He's got a very kind of feathery first touch. He's good with link play. He's good with flick-ons. He is the prototypical kind of Chelsea number 9 that they've been looking for, to be fair. He's scoring a few goals in pre-season as well, and a lot of the finishes look quite clinical and quite smart. So yeah, that boded well for the new season. But of course, with them having lost to West Ham last week, and Jackson trying his hardest, all that he could, didn't manage to get on score sheet. But last night, he picked himself up a goal, and he was well worth it, man. He ran the lines.
mm,
Um, he did every single thing that you would want a centre forward to do. Fair play. I love that signing. I think that'll be one of the surprises of the season. And I think, yeah, that he's got a big future ahead of him. I really like him, man. Really like him,
yeah.
isn't he?
And he's what is he 21, 22 as you said, like, and he's really young. Really, do you think he's 100% ready at the moment, or do they need another striker to come in and support him?
Well, with Chelsea not in Europe and them only competing on 3 fronts, if you want to count the FA Cup and the League Cup, I think I think there's enough there for this kind of campaign for them to carry on as they are. Obviously, if he ends up injured, you know, you're looking at the Romelu Lukaku situation, kind of being frozen out, and Chelsea looking to ship him off anywhere they can to back to Inter Milan. The Juventus fans saying they don't want him, banners and posters outside protesting with pitchforks and what have you. Um, I think it would be good for them if they could have Lukaku in and around the mix just to beef things up a bit. But yeah, I, it
Uh,
depends.
uh,
If they
what
can keep Jackson fit, right,
mhm.
then they should go on to have a reasonable campaign, considering the lack of European games that they'll be playing this season.
Was that top six, top four?
I think they can comfortably look to push for a top 6 finish, given the quality that they've got in their team. I know there's a lot of gelling to do still. Pochettino still finding his feet and finding his ways. You're not really going to know much about your team playing against the likes of Luton. I think you'll know when the bigger tests come, like the top 4 teams, and you hit
Yeah,
some of them away games away from home, and you see how the guys really get on. But yeah, yes, they look very good. Yes, Chelsea looked very good yesterday, very functional, a good
mhm.
unit, quality all over the place. But a couple of things to iron out as well. Still, they're not quite out of the woods yet, and the rebuild is still on. But yeah, I think it bodes well for them. You can't do no better than start off with a really good striker leading it and spearheading the attack for you. So
Exactly.
yeah.
And for me, I was quite impressed with this the way that Poch set up actually, putting that Gusto, which I known him as a right winger, putting him as right
Oh, okay.
back. Really, really good. Like
Right back.
really good tactical decision. I think you
He's,
can afford to do it against Luton, and you know what? He assisted two great goals. You know what I mean?
he's right back. He is a right back.
You sure? I've seen him play right wing. Hey, I
Yeah,
might be wrong.
I think he's versatile, but I think his favorite position is right back.
Oh, is it?
It was for Leon. Yeah, he comes in, he provides good cover for now club captain Reece James, who's obviously injury plagued at the minute with this injury and that injury, and just off for different amounts. You know, a month here, 2 months there, 4 months here. Yeah, good cover. And you're right, he did have a hand in one of the cutback goals that Chelsea scored. And yeah, to be fair, it's good on you for highlighting that.
I was quite impressed with him, to be fair. And to be fair, you got to mention the old guy at the back as well, right? Silva, Thiago
Yeah,
Silva, yeah, absolute. You know what, right? For someone who's so old, right? He reads that game like a dream, but he does not have to. He doesn't have to run. Do you know what I mean? He reads
mm,
that game so well, man. I'm a big, huge fan of him. Really am.
yeah. I
And
think
I think he's just got that next level quality where I think he can still play for another 2, 3 years. To be honest with you.
with Chelsea, looking at their back line, it looks like Pochettino has gone for a back three with Thiago Silva at the heart of it. Obviously, being there, done that, 39 years old, Brazilian international, calm as you like, cool as a cucumber. Okay, physically, he might be on the decline, but yeah, if you're a centre back or if you even play football, then you know a lot of the game is up here anyway.
Mhm.
And this reads the game as good as anyone else. For me, the issues with Chelsea's back line is who is to the left and to the right of him in that central defensive back three unit. You've got Levi Colwell, who I'm hearing Chelsea fans call generational, and the English Saliba and the Mbappe of centre backs and all that. A very, very good prospect, European champion winner with England in the summer just gone. So,
Yep.
you know, he's already got trophies on the board. He impressed very well at Brighton last season. A lot of interest from Liverpool and other big clubs. But with the injury of Fofana, unfortunately, another cruciate injury for him. It means that he's kind of been seamlessly transitioned into the lineup, which is what he was looking for, needing regular game time at his parent club. He signed a new contract. Seen a couple of little hiccups here and there. I think he got done up a couple of times by Luton Town attackers when they were on the offence. So that maybe be a cause for concern. But I think over the course of time, as he picks up his experience, he'll start to read the decisions better. Then you got this big French lad from Monaco, Axel Disasi, who I was hearing. The streets were calling him the French Maguire when he came in. You know,
Yeah. Well,
uh, he,
hopefully.
and he's had a couple of hairy moments to be fair, but all in all, I think he's looks solid as well. And the more he adapts to the Premier League, I think the better he'll take to it and become. And his performances will reflect that as well. But yeah, still some work to be done there as far as the cohesiveness of that Chelsea back three. Midfield looks fine. We discussed the attack already, and it's Moises Caicedo though, man. Yeah,
Doesn't look it. Doesn't look it there, does he, at the moment?
another couple of hairy moments for him yesterday, and this is only against Luton Town. You know, they were giving him his home debut. He started the game, a couple of dispossessions and sloppy and wayward passes and what have you. Obviously, as I'm sure most of my friends know, a player that I absolutely get on my knees and beg to the Lord for Arsenal to sign. They got him for 100 million, and he looks like he's chosen the money. I'm not sure if it was the project. Anyone telling me otherwise, I'm not having it. But at the end of the day, yeah, much to figure out, and yeah, I'm sure Chelsea fans will be excited for the next
Is
game.
it just bedding in time with him?
See, so there's that, which is fine, but this is a league that he's comfortable and familiar with.
Yep.
He's in the prime. He's in the prime of his life. 20 or 21 years old now. 100 million price tag. You know, begging and itching for a move, doing anything in his will to get away and out of Brighton Football Club, Brighton Hove and Albion. Excuse me. Um, and yeah, that's where I see it at the moment with Chelsea and him.
Yeah, and so yeah, so the deserved winners really. So
Naturally, you'd
top
expect this.
four?
Well, you said top six not too long ago, and
Yeah, do you reckon top four though?
I think Chelsea, what they have to focus on really is getting themselves in a rhythm and a pattern of play, and to express the ideas of the coach first, and then once they've implemented that, then I think they can start looking at table positions. But right now, I think the focus should be and the emphasis should be on consistency, and cohesion, they can comfortably finish in the top 6, potentially finish in the top 4. But it all depends on that bedding period because there's so many new players there, so many different components. And if you ask me to name Chelsea's best lineup 1 to 11, I'm not even sure I'd know where to start. I mean, they've got the Brighton number 2 goalkeeper basically practically starting for them.
Sanchez, yeah.
2 of their centre back 3, central defensive back 3, are brand new players as far as being given regular game time at Chelsea. Malo Gusto, again, brand new face. Ben Chilwell, vice captain of the club. Is he fit now? Is he an injury away from a long layoff again? You got Enzo Fernandez, who's an ever-present in there, another £100 million midfielder. Yeah, bit of a joke on that one as far as FFP and financial fair play, but we move on. Conor Gallagher still getting regular runouts, regular starts, regular game time.
I like him.
I know a lot of fans are on his back, and they call him the head and shoulders Mason Mount. Obviously, he likes to, yeah, the jury's out on him for me. I don't think he's worthy of starting in this expensively assembled lineup. But yeah, he's putting in semi-consistent performances. He wasn't too bad last night either, and obviously there's something that ticks the coach's boxes. So yeah, I think Chelsea fans will have to wait and see what Pochettino's cooking, as the streets say.
Exactly. So we're going to move on to today's games now. I just want to give a shout out to Rich T in the chat as well. Thank you for popping in, my guy.
Hey, Rich T. Good beverage.
Richie, big boy Rich. So we're gonna go on to
RSW. Let's go.
Right, we're gonna go on to Bournemouth versus Tottenham. Score predictions. Gonna have a little talk about obviously today. That's the first game at 12:30 today. For me, look, the way they played against United last week, they're starting to look like they're ticking. They're starting to look like they got a style of play. They look like they didn't even look like they're missing Kane, if I'm really honest. In a weird way, because when you take out £100 million striker, you expect them to have a downfall. But for me, with the wingers they've got, okay, I think they can make up for that. Bournemouth, look, I like the way that they're trying to play football at the moment. Do I think they've got enough against Tottenham? I don't think so, personally. I think Tottenham will it'll probably be like a 1-0 win, maybe something like that. But I do think Tottenham will have enough just to win the game quite comfortably. Thoughts on Tottenham?
Well, they've obviously got this this new Australian manager from Celtic, Ange Postecoglou. Very unfamiliar to a lot of viewers of top European top flight football. Obviously, a lot more familiar to the likes of the Celtic fans and anyone who follows the SPL, the Scottish Premier League. Strange appointment for a lot of Tottenham fans. They used to having their big names being appointed, the likes of your Mourinho's, your Antonio Conte's, and the like. So yeah, a bit of a new dawn for them. And what I saw from Spurs last week when they hosted United is that there was a good fresh impetus that was injected thanks to a couple of the players reviving themselves at the club, the likes of Basuma. You've got Destiny Koji there, who's the left back who was on their books for a while. Didn't really get any regular game time until last week. Pape Mate Sarr, who was quite impressive against United. And I think the biggest question mark, though, really just remains on that attack, with Tottenham having now kind of dispensed with Kane and sent him back into Bayern Munich for his big move to a big club that was inevitable, basically. You still kind of got you've kind of left behind the Harry Kane burden, and you've kind of gotten rid of that, and you've taken that off of your shoulders. But then you've now got this new conundrum of, okay, what is our attack going to be? How is our attack going to function now without Kane? Okay, they had Richarlison there. He was waiting in the wings. Big £50 million signing, Brazilian international striker. He's obviously not Harry Kane to any stretch or any degree. He doesn't possess the same qualities. But he does have some quality and enough to kind of maybe hang your hat on him to do a job, let's say, until Spurs go out and reinforce in that department. The two
If you were
two
Spurs, I got one question. If you were Spurs, would you go out and look at Lukaku on a
I think
loan?
I think a lot of top clubs should be doing that anyway. Listen, I know Lukaku's tarnished with the image of being a bit of a let's say
Trampoline foot.
yeah, like he played like he's got the touch of a what. Uh, very poor touch to say the least. If you know, then you know. Not the smoothest, kind of cleanest technician when it comes to being a
No.
striker. Bit of a big lump, quite heavy in his size, his physique. Quite top heavy, especially, and bottom heavy. Very thick legs, very broad shoulders, but not really that smooth and streamlined kind of striker.
Mm.
Neat and tidy that a lot of big clubs would really have leading their line. But I tell you what, for all that he doesn't have, he does possess a lot of qualities as well. His spell at United, his spell at Inter Milan.
Yeah.
He really knows how to find the back of the net. Okay, maybe not in critical moments in big games, but I think over the
No.
course of the season, if you give him a run out, that man can get you goals. And at the end of the day, it's all about putting it in the onion bag and getting 3 points on the board and winning games.
Yeah,
So
and he was known for United for not scoring in his time against any of the top six, wasn't he? But
but
United were not great at that period, were they?
no, no, no. But you see over the years, that there is talent there, and
Mm-hmm.
it can be harnessed under the right coach, man. He just needs to be managed properly, and he needs to have his kind of head in the game for more often than not, I'd say. Bournemouth. Where do I start with them? They've got this new manager in this Andoni Iraola, this kind of new kind of hipster trendy manager from Spain.
Yeah.
They completely discarded Gary O'Neill, who saved them last season from the brink of relegation, but quite brutally in many people's opinions, who's now obviously found himself at Wolves, Gary O'Neill.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've seen bits and pieces of Bournemouth. I know they held West Ham to a 1-1 draw at the Vitality Stadium. I think
Yeah.
that was a good solid point for them. They made West Ham work for that point. They obviously are hosting Tottenham in the early kickoff, and I've heard a lot of good things about the Bournemouth manager. They've brought in a couple of very decent new signings, and I would not be surprised if Iraola ends up perhaps getting something out of this game. He's a very, very highly rated young Spanish coach, and yeah, you don't discard and dispense with the likes of a Gary O'Neill, who I think impressed a lot of people in his time at Bournemouth.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a very decent replacement ready to kind of step in and take over from him. So yeah, I can potentially see a draw in this game. But I think with the way Tottenham were cooking, they would be cooking United last week. They would be expecting to go on, I think, and go and collect with 3 points somehow.
Yeah, and I think the difference would be again Basuma and Sarr. Sarr seems to play like ups his game when he's got Basuma playing so well next to him. You've seen that in the second half against United. Sarr did put up a real good performance next to Basuma, and again, if Basuma can dictate that midfield yet again, then I think I think Tottenham will probably win the game personally. Um, Again, you
Yeah.
look at Bournemouth side though. It's nothing like you look at it and you're like, there's nothing there that's stand out absolute like oof. You know what? That's a top talent there. Do you know what I mean? They got that
Yeah.
striker, that Solanke or whatever his name is. I don't really know.
Yeah, yeah, big money
He
per couple of
yeah.
seasons.
When he
He
at
signed.
Liverpool at one point.
He was, yeah, and I think they sold him on for a decent profit. He was at Chelsea as well initially, and that's where Liverpool got him from initially. Um, Yeah, I mean, they've got a couple of okay names in there. Nothing really stand out. Maybe that Philip Billing, was he Danish? I think he's like this big 6'5", 6'6" midfielder. I think he plays out wide sometimes. He's a bit of a. I think he's quite versatile with his uh, in his kind of positional attributes. He can like I'm
Yeah, I
looking.
think he plays like a number 10 kind of role. I
I'm
think.
I'm looking at the lineup against Liverpool, and he's there in number 10. I've seen him play
Okay.
DM, left back. I've seen him play left wing. He's probably their biggest standout name, and yeah, if they can kind of harness good things out of him, then I think that'll prove to be a difference
Hmm.
maker in
And I
the game
think
against.
that their keeper Nito or Neto, whatever his name is, I think he's a really really big asset to them because obviously the new style they're playing now, playing out from the back, he's very good with his feet. very good with his feet, and I really, really like. Well, I just really like him, to be honest with you. He's really good with his feet. Can play from the back. I think he's a surprise little asset for that club. For the way they want to play, and I think well, to be fair, last season you didn't really see much of it to do. So there we go.
Mhm.
So there we go. So that is the Spurs game. What do you reckon for the score prediction after you said what you got to say?
I'm going to go with 2-1 Tottenham.
2-1 Tottenham. Oh, I got 1-0 Tottenham. I don't think Bournemouth will break him down that well, but there you go. I'm known for being wrong, so you never know. Let's move on to Arsenal Fulham. Arsenal Fulham. Arsenal home. 3 o'clock kickoff. Look, Fulham are gonna. I think they're gonna have a huge impact from losing Mitrovic. I think he was a huge asset for them, and to get rid of him for what? To be fair, they got a decent price, 60 million, I think, 50, 60 million, remember there.
Mhm.
Which these days isn't like huge, but I think for what he is, he reminds me of one of those players where like he's way too good for the Championship, but he's not quite a top Premier League striker, but he's decent. He's a good Premier League striker. Do you mean he's one of those ones where I think
I,
for the film, you
I,
disagree?
I disagree, yes, yeah. So I think explaining in one of the earlier podcasts, Mitrovic was a bit of a flop at Newcastle, to say the least. They paid big money for him. They gave him the big number 9 shirt, obviously Alan Shearer and all of that goes with it. And didn't really fare too well there, some disciplinary issues. So he was casted off to Fulham, found himself at the cottage. And with Fulham being a bit of a yo-yo club as far as being in the Premier League 1 minute, and then in the Championship the next, and then excelling in the Championship, coming up and struggling in the Premier League. That first go-round of his kind of return back to the Premier League with him after doing so well in the Championship, I don't think he netted a single goal. So, of course, inevitably they went down, and then they came up again with him, and I think he hit record-breaking numbers in the Championship. So there was kind of a bit of a skepticism that he could kind of replicate that in the Premier League. Last season in the Premier League, however, he impressed enormously. His hold of play proved to be just out of this world. His heading ability, his ability to kind of ruffle feathers, bully defenders. And I think he proved to be the difference maker for Fulham in a lot of games for them. The talisman, I'd go as far as to say. Obviously, Crocked ended up with a big injury, missing big chunks season, I believe, or a couple of niggly injuries. But I think the biggest thing for him was that 8-game ban, thanks to that FA Cup game against Man United, where they should have probably run out winners. Ended up losing, I think, 3-1. Obviously, being courted then by the Saudi Arabian teams, he's now finalised his move to go see out the rest of his playing days over there. They've brought in Raul Jimenez, who's
Huge.
I've touched this on before, a very good striker, obviously, but since he's had a head injury, a bit more tentative in his play than the previous kind of incarnation of him. And Fulham have struggled. They've struggled. They lost their first. Sorry, forgive me. They won their first game 1-0 against a very, very, very poor Everton team. A horrible Everton team, actually. I'm sorry to say. But they managed to nick that one because, I mean, you can't really be any worse than what Everton are right now. But then I think we saw where Fulham really are in their last game when they hosted Brentford, in-form Brentford, might I add, and Ivan Toney-less Brentford, who basically carved them open for large parts of the game and ended up running 3-0 winners against Fulham. The two strikers, Brian Mbuemo for Brentford and Johan Wissa, causing the Fulham backline a lot of problems. I mean, they're still obviously reliant on the American veteran Tim Ream. I think he must be 37 or 38 years old by now. A comfortable away victory for Brentford, it ended up looking like. And I just look at the Fulham team, and I feel like they need reinforcements. I'm still seeing a lot of personnel from the Championship time. And yeah, they really need to inject a lot of,
But they have got quality. You know what I mean? They have got quality in the Paulinho, the Pereira. I think that's the ex-United Wilson. They're all really good quality players, although they may be Championship players, but they are good quality players.
I like them, but if the teams around you are strengthening, then all of a sudden your lineup isn't looking so fresh, so vibrant. So and they're looking like they could do with a bit of an injection with a new face. Sometimes a new face around the house just helps, you know. That Palhinha's missing. They're starting that signing from January, I think. Sasa Lukic, where a lot of Fulham fans were a bit kind of miffed as to who he was and what he does and what he's good at. And they didn't really see much out of him. I'm hearing he had a much better pre-season. It kind of looks like he's slotting in that Palhinha role right in the central defensive midfield area, keeping it neat and tidy and kind of moving the play along. But yeah, I'm looking at the team, and although there are good players there, I mean, Bobby Deco, Dover Reed, Harrison Reed, yeah, good players. But I think there's room there to improve that still. Anthony Robinson, even a favourite on the terraces at the cottage, especially from my Fulham supporting mate, who absolutely pulls his hair out every time this left back gets on the ball. He's always falling asleep at the back post, always giving it away, defensive lapses. Kenny Tete, an ever-present there. Issa Diop, West Ham centre back that they brought in, quite decent. But yeah, I think that they need a good injection of some quality in there.
Arsenal keeper as well.
Yeah, Bernd Leno, yeah, very, very good acquisition. Not quite up to the standard needed for what Arsenal needed, but definitely a very good goalkeeper for Fulham that I think any of the top 6 clubs would be blessed to have. But yeah, I think Fulham have got some work to do, some real work to do. That Marco Silva.
Well, sorry, all Fulham fans out there for that analysis. But let's go on to Arsenal now. Look, I think Jesus is back fit. I might be wrong.
Yeah.
Might want to. So, would you start him over Nketiah? Yes or no?
This conundrum, yeah. So obviously we're playing away, traveling to Fulham. Comfortable 3-0 victory the last time out. Probably one of our better performances. Controlled and dominated the game from start to finish. 3 very, very good goals. Just attacking options, left, right, and centre, down the flanks, down the middle, combination play in the middle. Centre backs look comfortable. Okay, there was no Mitrovic to tend to, but you know you can only play against who you're up against on the day.
Yep.
The last game, the Monday night kickoff, Arsenal travelled away to Crystal Palace, and yeah, they probably could have, maybe should have been at least 1 or if not 2 goals up at half time. That didn't materialise. Quite wasteful with the chances. Mikel Arteta obviously still trying these new experiments with the lineup. You know, I think he's going for a 3-2-4-1 formation. Thomas Partey kind of being asked to kind of conduct 2 different roles, 1 in possession, 1 out of possession. When they're in possession, it looks like he wants him to sit in front of the 3 centre backs in a double pivot with Declan Rice and kind of dictate from there. When we don't have possession, he kind of wants it to come out of that central defensive midfield 2-man pivot and just pop into right back just to cover the flanks. I don't really think he's got the speed and the athleticism and the quickness on the turn to deal with wingers, as we saw in the Nottingham Forest game at the Emirates, where I think it was your old boy Anthony Elanga burst down the flank, and yeah, it was basically no man's land where a right back should have been. There wasn't one, basically. A couple of players behind the play, and yeah, just a bit of dysfunction there.
So with Zinchenko coming back now, do you go Zinchenko, whoever's going to sit next to Saliba, and then White, or not?
Well, this is the thing. I mean, just looking at the lineup from last week, Ben White is obviously an ever-present in the Arsenal back line. Normally at right back, but this time fitting in a kind of back 3 central defensive unit. Him on the right-hand side of it, William Saliba at the heart of it, and thanks to Jurriën Timber's injury, of course, long-term injury. I hope he gets well soon. You had Tomiyasu filling in there, who unfortunately managed to get himself sent off for one knee. Well, it was a combination of 2 bookings, 2 yellow cards. 1 for some time wasting, about 8 minutes into the second half of a game.
For 8 seconds, mind. 8 seconds, you had the ball in the hand.
Yeah. But I mean, you take a 1-0 lead away at Crystal Palace, and you're 8 minutes into the second half, and you're holding onto the ball for a bit too long. You know, you kind of got it there over your head, and you're like, no, should I give it to him? No, hang on, let me change my mind. Like at that time, the fans are getting on your back, like, come on, mate, take the throw in. And then that riles up the referee. And he's like, listen, you know exactly what you're doing. You're 1-0 up, you're away from home, they're on your back. You need to take that throw in quickly. And if you don't, I'm booking you. And that's exactly what he did. So, and then, of course, when Palace hit Arsenal on the counter-attack to try and go and get the equaliser, Tomiyasu with a small tug on the shirt meant that he got a second yellow. And he's now suspended. You obviously can't appeal and apply for that to be 2 yellows. Yeah, if it was a straight red, that'd be a different story. So it looks, well, I don't really know about the Zinchenko thing. I mean, Zinchenko, fantastic in a flat back four, okay, but probably not familiar with playing in the left side of a central back three. I would like to see it because I think he does definitely have the capabilities there. He's very competent. He's a complete footballer, in my opinion. If they were aerial challenges to be dealt with, he's as good as anybody. Kind of winning his aerial duels, obviously unbelievably comfortable on the football, and I wouldn't mind seeing him slotting in there. Gabriel,
how old is he?
I think he's 26, going on 27, captain of his.
He's still young, then.
Yeah, we bought him in his prime, I'd say. But yeah, Gabriel Magalhaes, that's the real one that Arsenal fans are kind of a bit perplexed about, because he obviously an ever-present and a fixture in the Arsenal back line, arguably the best central defensive pairing in the Premier League last season. Both him and Saliba. But yeah, Arteta in the first 2 games of the season, although he's persisted with Gabriel all pre-season, he seems to have kind of dropped him and started to shoehorn a couple of other players, leaving Gabriel on the bench. As I said, has perplexed a couple of Arsenal fans. He's been linked to a move to Saudi Arabia as well, which seems quite bizarre for a guy who was an ever-present in the Arsenal lineup. I'm sure a few Arsenal fans wouldn't mind seeing him actually go and be replaced by somebody who's a little bit less error-prone. But I think all in all, when you look at the overall picture for Gabriel, he is a rock. He is a rock for Arsenal. He does have momentary lapses. He does make cock-ups and little mistakes every now and again. But I guess what centre-back doesn't? And if you're playing for Arsenal Football Club, they're highlighted even more than maybe you're right.
Definitely.
Let's say. But yeah.
So
definitely.
one more question.
Mm-hmm.
Would you play? So say, for instance, playing back four. Okay, so it's White, Saliba, Gabriel, and Zinchenko, for instance, right?
Yeah.
That midfield 3, then, I know what you're going to say straight away. Odegaard's a starter.
Yeah.
Rice is a starter.
Yeah.
Dropping Havertz then?
Listen, I think everybody knows my thoughts and feelings on Kai Havertz. I mean, I've watched 180 minutes of football of him. I'm not even including the 7 or 8 pre-season games that I've watched him in, and I just don't understand it. I'm trying everything in my will to like this guy. 6'4", German attacking midfielder, come striker, come winger, come support striker, centre forward. I don't know what he is. I don't know what he does. I mean, I've tried to give it the eye test thing. And when I see him on the pitch, I'm confused as to what he offers Arsenal Football Club. When we were reduced to 10 men, I thought he'd be hauled off and we keep the kind of 2 wingers on the flanks ready for that comeback. But strangely and bizarrely, Mikel Arteta persisted with him and he hauled off Martinelli, marched right down the tunnel. No handshake. No, get off me. I have no idea what you're doing. I think everybody in the room knows, and nobody wants to address the elephant in the room, and that's that Kai Havertz at the moment doesn't appear to be offering all that much, considering the amount of money that was paid for him and the expectations if you're going to be started in the lineup for Arsenal Football Club. So for me, it's Thomas Partey and Declan Rice double pivot, and then everything else takes care of itself with Odegaard at the tip of that, conducting as he does. He scored the penalty for the 1-0 win, and I thought he was sublime again, like he normally is. Turning up in little pockets of play and just sprinkling that bit of that magic dust on top of things, just to kind of get things going for Arsenal in the attack.
My opinion, I think Odegaard currently with no KDB and stuff like that, I think he's probably the best creative midfielder in the Premier League right now, and
Sublime.
And that kills me to say, being a United fan with Bruno and stuff, but you gotta face the facts. I think he is absolutely top class.
Yeah, you've got to talk objectively and just say it as you see it. And if Bruno was performing the same, and the roles were reversed, then you'd have to call it the other way as well, right? So
I think Bruno can get to that level, though. But hey, let's not go into that. Right, next then we're gonna go into Brentford and Crystal Palace game. Look,
I'll give you a score. I'll just
score prediction.
Give you a score for the Arsenal game. I think we're going to run out maybe 2-0 winners.
2-0.
No, you know what? I'm going to say with a weakened Fulham back line, I'm seeing a 4-1 victory.
4-1. Oh,
Well, yeah. This Fulham team need beef in their squad, and they don't have it.
sorry, Nicky, mate. I don't. I'm sure he doesn't mean that. I'm sure he doesn't mean that.
Still,
I was gonna go 2-1
yeah,
Arsenal.
fair,
Uh,
fair. Yeah,
personally, but
if the likes of Brentford can run out comfortable 3-0 winners at Craven Cottage, I don't think it's much of an ask for an Arsenal team that finished second and for the majority of the league season last year or the campaign just gone were the best team in the league. I don't think it's much of an ask to expect us to deal with Fulham accordingly.
no, that's very true. That's very true. Right then, Brentford, Crystal Palace. My man Roy Hodgson, love the guy, absolute demon. What? How old's he now? He's got to be in his 70s, isn't he? Still
Yeah,
keeping up with his modern football.
old white.
Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Um, look, he's got this team doing bits. Let's be honest now. They're no slouches. You know what I mean? They can. To be fair, if I'm really honest, I think they need a top quality striker. But you can say that for everyone, really.
Uh,
With Ayu, Eze, I think I'm saying his name right. I don't really know, and that Schlop, whatever his
Jeff,
name is,
yeah, Ebridge, yeah,
really really good midfield, but they or attacking options, should we say?
yeah.
And they got Decore, who I was quite surprised last week when I can't remember who they played now, but they was it Liverpool they played
Uh,
last week? Or was it you lot? No, it was you lot, wasn't it?
it was us. It was us.
Yeah, so they played you guys. I was really surprised, right? I know he went down to 10 men, but they looked such a threat. You know what I mean? They did look a threat when they were going forward. Decore
Honestly,
was really good in that midfield. I thought he just got outclassed by a Declan Rice. You know what I mean? It was world class. Let's be honest now. I think he just got outclassed. But I think they could actually be comfortably mid-table this season. Looking at Crystal Palace, what's your thoughts on the game? Obviously, I haven't really touched upon Brentford, but yeah, I'm in love with Crystal Palace.
yeah. So as far as Palace goes, I think it's a team that often kind of go by the wayside and under the radar. They're often slept on. Um, I mean, whenever we turn up at Selhurst Park, and a lot of other teams. I mean, you look at the Crystal Palace lineup, and you're not really expecting that much. Okay, they had quite a star-studded attack, especially in the kind of pockets just behind the central striker. You know, you have the likes of Wilfred Zaha on one flank, and then Barichi Eze just conducting things in that little pocket in the number 10.
Yeah.
Um, uh, they did have Conor Gallagher a couple of seasons ago, but yeah. The every time you go there, you're always given a tough game, and it was no different when Fulham hosted Arsenal. They applied some really good pressure. They had Jordan Ayew,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Yep.
kind of causes some problems down the flanks to the fullbacks, and with his movement and his trickery and his dribbling. Not really a consistent enough finisher to be considered a top or a decent level Premier League striker.
No.
Um, which is where they need to beef it up. But yeah, I mean, looking through their lineup, Joachim Andersen, I think he's a Danish centre back. A very very underrated footballer right there, who's well, Palace I think are lucky to still have him. You know, I'm really surprised that a lot of the big clubs haven't swooped in for him. They got
Same.
that Mark Gahey, who's that Chelsea academy prospect, beside him in the flat back four. Obviously, an England international now, capped a couple of times, and also quite highly rated. Tyreek Mitchell, academy product from Palace itself, famed for their South London academy, and a very good kind of solid prospect who just sits there comfortably in that left back role. They've picked up Jefferson Lerma, who was the South American central midfielder from Bournemouth, and he sits next to that Czech Decore in that midfield pivot, very strong, athletic duo right there. You know that would stand up well against a lot of teams. Highly coveted Decore, of course, the likes of Liverpool sniffing around and looking to put in a big him. I think Palace are asking for maybe 80 odd million, which is quite a stretch to be fair, but I guess that shows you how much that they rely and depend on him and how much they rate him.
I think that shows how the market has changed as well for defensive midfielders. Like, it's such a pivotal role now in any side. I think that's the new strikers, and they're on par with some strikers these days. Do you know what I mean? They may not score the goals, but they can still win games just by doing their job in the center of the park. Do you know what I mean? So I think Do I rate him at 80 million? No, I think he's a 50, 60 million pound player. But with the market so inflated, especially with the Saudi just dropping money like it's nothing, um, yeah, I think they probably would get 80 million from him if I'm really honest, or close to.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of teams will be put off by that 80 million price tag, and he'll end up staying at Palace. To be fair, because yeah, as good as he is and as highly as they rate him, I don't think he's quite hit the levels to kind of be for Palace to be demanding that kind of money. If you look at
Yeah,
Moises Caicedo, who is not only highly rated by his club and hence the £100 million sale, but I think he was highly rated by a lot of outside eyes as well. I don't think that's quite the case with Decore. It's still a lot of work for him to be done to even be considered anywhere near in the bracket for a price tag like that. Yeah, Palace, they'll I think they'll comfortably stay in the Premier League. But as a Palace fan, I'd be expecting for them to strengthen and add some more attacking impetus to that lineup.
hmm
See if they can get a decent replacement for Wilfried Zaha. I know they got this Brazilian lad who they spent a bit of money on that was sat in the stands watching the Arsenal game, who they're expecting to have
yeah.
up in the lineup. But
I don't
I'd
know
like to
his
see
name.
I'd like to see another body brought in there, to be fair, and right back as well, still persisting with the likes of a Joel Ward. And they could do with strengthening, but I think Palace fans know that.
Yeah, that that Franca is it? Is it Franca the striker they're
That's
on
the one.
about?
That's the one.
19-year-old. He's expected to return mid-September because he's injured. So, yeah, that's a brilliant start for him in his Premier League. You know what I mean, start of a season. But hey, look, Brentford. Just a quick little touch upon them. Really like obviously Jensen. Really big fan of him in the midfield. Um, do you think
Mhm.
do, do you think they're good enough at the moment to obviously challenge for a European place, Brentford, or not?
I think the way that they're going at the moment, they're showing a level of consistency that I think a lot of the bigger, more established Premier League teams would love to have. Ivan Toney, obviously, with the betting suspension, means that he's missing the best part of the next 6 or 7 months. And there was a lot of panic when that happened. But with Thomas Frank being the kind of shrewd manager that he is, what he did was he backed his own horse, and he trusted in the person that he had at the club. And obviously, we're seeing that with the likes of Johan Wissa and Brian and Mbuemo absolutely running defenses ragged in the first two games. Obviously, run out 3-0 winners against Fulham, and yeah, they've got an attack that will be the envy of most of the Premier League teams from 11 down, let's say. Yeah, a very threatening lineup, and I think they could
Mhm.
do. They could cause a lot of upsets in this league. That's for sure.
Definitely, definitely. Score predictions.
Oh, I'll let you go first. I'll let you go first this.
So for me, I feel that it'll probably be a draw. If I'm really honest, I think it'll be 1-1 draw. I think the teams kind of cancel themselves out. I think with the class of Decore in the midfield as well. I think yeah, I do. I think it'll be 1-1 with the lack of extreme threat going forward as well. There's no one in that team I'm like, oof, you know what, we need to watch out for this person because he can bang in them goals like nothing. Do you know what I mean? For
Mhm.
me, I think it'd be a 1-1 draw.
I'm going to go for a 3-1 Brentford win. I think that their
Ooh.
attack, two live wire attackers up there. Okay, yeah, Palace are quite resolute defensively.
hmm
Uh, I just don't think they've got the Palace have got the firepower to match Brentford and go blow for blow with them. So yeah, with it being at home as well, 3-1 Brentford.
Okay. So next now is Everton at home against Wolves. Wolves being the only team that I know who can have a million shots on target and still not score, but they did get a
Mhm.
goal against Brighton last week, I believe. Look, Everton were a shambles last week. Let's be honest. From what I've seen of the highlights, absolute shambles. Um, do you think this is the time for Wolves to get their shooting shoes on and actually make it worth their while and get a couple of goals past them? Make that defeat a couple of weeks ago even worse for Everton.
Yeah. So well, I mean, Everton probably probably the biggest disappointments in the Premier League as far as what you would expect the team and how you'd expect a team like Everton to be conducting themselves and how they are actually performing and conducting themselves. Because I know a couple of Evertonian fans. Obviously, you got your man Reese. Big shout out to him. He Everton fans not happy at all. First game of the season, they lose to a kind of a mid performing Fulham. They're on ground at Goodison Park. They brought Sean Dyche in last season to kind of as like a last throw of the dice to kind of try and retain their Premier League status and save themselves from relegation. The football wasn't great, to be honest. A lot of their players' confidence is on the floor. Big, serious questions going on in that Everton back line. The attack looks blunt, that rely on the likes of a Neil Maupay, a wildly inconsistent inconsistent Dominic Calvert-Lewin as far as his fitness record. Unfortunately, I guess poor form is one thing and injury is another. But the best kind of availability, as you know, best kind of ability, as you know, is availability. And if you're not available, then you may as well be injured anyway. I think he ended up coming off, holding and clutching his face with a big swollen cheek that kind of looked like a gobstopper in a hamster's mouth. And he was on the receiving end of a lot of pelters from the Everton fans who were just kind of growing weary and tired and impatient with his constant inability to kind of maintain his fitness and just stay on the pitch and fight for Everton and score goals for them. So yeah, a bit of a tricky to say the least for Everton. Unhappy with the Everton fans, unhappy with the constant kind of chopping and changing of managers, the inconsistency, the wildly inconsistent performances from the team, just the overall poor level of quality from their team. Obviously, they went away to Aston Villa at Villa Park last week. Villa reeling off the back of a 5-1 hammering at St James's Park by Newcastle themselves. You'd expect them to be somewhat vulnerable, but obviously somewhat up for the fight as well to try and regain their confidence. It was an absolute clean sweep for Villa last week. They ran out 4-0 winners. A lot of the goals were easy enough to score. I think the last goal was basically typical of what Everton are at the moment. Ashley Young, 38 years old, obviously evergreen, still going strong, fair enough. But for him to be their marquee signing, a 38-year-old kind of ex-left winger, now kind of makeshift full-back, right back, left back, takes a throw in from the touchline, completely on a different wavelength with a centre-back. Striker sneaks in and lifts it off his toes, slots it in, 4-0. And the Everton players are on their knees. And I think that was the final dagger in Everton's hearts. Yeah, with this Everton team, looking at their lineup, we've got the likes of Jordan Pickford. Okay, England's number one, fair enough. A favourite at Southgate, it never really lets him down. But in an Everton shirt, it's like he turns up and is it long lost brothers playing or something? Because if they're not shipping 4 here, they're shipping 3 there. Pickford doesn't really look like he's getting close to any of them. He's not the biggest of keepers, and he comes in at 6 foot, which is my height. But for a goalkeeper, that's not really all that big. No. On the fans, they kind of chip it in with the old nicknames, T-Rex arms and things like that. It doesn't really have the biggest reach. Nathan Patterson, who was a big investment for them, playing at right back. I think he's a Scottish fullback, young prospect. He initially came in with big bright hopes. He's looking to kind of cement his place now and take over from not Leighton Baines, who's the Seamus Coleman.
Baines, I haven't had that name for a while.
Yeah, it used to be him and Seamus Coleman on the left and the right, and it was as good a fullback kind of pairing as you could get in the league. But this Patterson, he really needs to get some consistency in his game because, the Everton fans were not happy with him. I think I saw some of the player ratings that the Everton fans were giving him, and I'm seeing 2s, I'm seeing 3s, I'm seeing 1s. Michael Keane and James.
I also think the biggest worry is that there's talks about obviously a lot of their players going. Decore going, and Nana's looks like he might be going. All talks about all them. Garner looks like the buyback option for United of 15 million. all these sort of things, big key players for them, look like they're going. They don't have. It doesn't look like they have any ambition of signing anybody. And I don't know if you touched upon that, but
Yeah,
for me, it's a big worry for Everton Football Club in the sense that they look like they got no ambition. They look like a football club that's dead and run. You know what I mean? They're just surviving.
yeah. They really need reinforcements, and Evertonians are not happy. You look at their lineup, as I was saying, Michael Keane and James Tarkowski, quite a big outlay for the those two centre backs. A lot of money paid for them. It's supposed to be kind of England internationals in their primes, and every other week you turn on the TV and Michael Keane is at fault for one mistake, a gaff, a ricket, or another, and pretty culpable in a lot of the goals that Everton conceded. Unfortunately, James Tarkowski not helping him. That midfield trio that they've got of Idrissa Gueye, Abdoulaye Doucouré, and Amadou Onana. You look at them; they're all big, strong, imposing central defensive midfielders. But yeah, they're being absolutely outrun, outworked, outplayed, and overshadowed by whoever they come up against, it seems. Alex Iwobi, obviously an ex-Arsenal player, highly talented, but wildly inconsistent, unfortunately. James Garner, you got him, the central midfielder from Man United, who a lot of United fans were disappointed to see leave for Everton. Featured quite heavily in the European Championship winning team over the summer, but just keep being bogged down in the mire. Yeah, Sean Dyche, I think has got a lot of work to do just to save his job. Never mind get this Everton team back up and running, because right now their confidence looks like it's absolutely on the floor, rock bottom. Yeah.
Score
Everton.
predictions for the game.
Yeah,
It's
and
a hard game to predict, really.
I'll let you go first.
For me, I think it's going to be a Wolves win. I think it's going to be 2-0 Wolves, personally. I just don't see enough from Everton, really, unfortunately.
Yeah, I like that. Of course, so we didn't really touch on the Wolverhampton Wanderers team. They obviously we touched on and discussed the issues that they had. Their manager walking out on them a couple of days before the starts. Gary O'Neill kind of being brought in. Obviously, they turned up Old Trafford on a very impressive display. But then this is against a kind of discombobulated Man United team who don't really know what the game plan is. So therefore, off the back of that, I wanted to see Wolves against a proper Premier League outfit, one that was functional and cohesive. We saw that with the game they played against Brighton last week. Obviously, Brighton ran out 4-0, comfortable winners, and I think that's what really showed where Wolverhampton Wanderers are. But I feel like there's enough quality in there for them to go and get something when it's their day, when all cylinders are firing. I can see Wolverhampton Wanderers running out comfortable winners against Everton, even though they're facing a Goodison Park. So I'd like to say a comfortable 2-0 victory.
2-0 as well. Perfect. Next, we're going to go on to United versus Nottingham Forest. United home, so our home record's not bad. That's a good thing. Still, our away record is terrible, but hey, we're not going to go into that. Nottingham Forest, obviously, we got Alanga coming back to Manchester, obviously playing for Forest. How do I see this game going? Forest, personally, I just don't think they've got a lot of young, promising players like that Gibbs White. They've got obviously that Brendan Johnson, yeah, and all that sort of stuff.
Brendan.
A lot.
Brennan. He'll probably not be happy with the mispronunciation. It's Brennan. Brennan.
Oh, is it? Oh, fair.
Brennan.
Mr. Johnson.
Him.
Absolutely, really good young talent. Quite like him. Obviously they got that the right back. What's his name? The one from Spurs.
Aurier,
is it?
Aurier, club captain now.
Really good. Really playing really well as well. For me, United should go out and dominate. Right? I know we keep saying this. We expect United to do this every single time, but when you got the likes of obviously they beat us last season. Remember when we were home? We need to start creating. We need to be on the front foot. We need to be more aggressive, and we need to take our chances. For me, if changes are not made in this team today, then there has to be serious calls. I know there is a protest going on today as well for Glazier's out, so I think that's going to be disturbing of some sort. I don't know what I think it's a sit-in protest. So after the game, they're just going to sit in. But if they don't win, I don't think that's going to happen.
Hilarious. Hilarious.
Obviously, we've got Mount out injured for a couple of months, maybe weeks. They're saying weeks, but there's rumours that it's going to be a couple of months. We still haven't got Hoylanden because he's still injured. He confirmed that he's not going to be playing. He may be on the bench, but he's not going to be playing until possibly next week. Only now he's gone back into first team training. For me, you got to look at Sancho on the right. You've got to look at finding you got to start Martial, play him until you break him. That's the way you got to play him now, unfortunately. Through the middle, Rashford on the left. You got obviously Eriksen next to Casemiro, Fernandes fitting. Luke Shaw's injured. Looks like that's a couple of months as well. Well, yeah, it is big, and the issue for me is why are we getting all these injuries? Do you know what I mean? We need to look at that. Like, we're having a lot of injuries now before the season started. You know what I mean? So for me, I'll play Delo on the left, or I don't know about Wan-Bissaka and his fitness, and I'm guessing he's fit. So you play Wan-Bissaka on the right, Delo on the left, but give that Alvarez Fernandez or whatever his name is, Alvaro Fernandez. Give that kid a chance, man. You got to give him a chance at some point. He was very good in pre-season, very attacking. Okay, a big question mark on his defending, but he's young. You know what I mean? You've got someone who two experienced centre backs in Varane and Martinez. You've got Casemiro, who can obviously maybe slide over to the left hand side a little bit more to try and protect him on his defensive work. Bring him into the team. Give him a shot. You know what I mean? It's not like we're going up against an Arsenal or top four side. We're going up against a Nottingham Forest. Use the kid, play the kid. That would be my start in. Obviously, you got a Nana in goal then. Thoughts on the game yourself?
Well,
Where do you start?
Where does one start with Man United? I mean, the first half against Tottenham at the away stadium, the toilet bowl, I keep forgetting what it's called. I think it's the Tottenham Hotspur
Stadium. Yeah, the biggest stadium in London.
I thought the start from United was pretty bright, you know, and it showed some good intent. And then over the course of time, a couple of things didn't go in their way. A couple of penalty shouts, a couple of gilt-edged chances, and sitters really that should have been buried by United meant that Tottenham took the momentum from that, and then went on to kind of to cruise through to what looked to be in the end a comfortable 2-0 victory. Eric Ten Hag not really very proactive off the touchline. Very questionable in the in kind of replicating the exact same lineup that basically got ran over against Wolves.
Contradicted his substitutions as well. We're not going to go into it, but
yeah. He didn't really make any changes to the lineup to kind of suggest that there's consequence for bad performances at the club, which is not really kind of a staple of the club. You know, it's one that's really famed for kind of having the highest of standards and expectations for their players. But to see the same lineup, I don't know if he was trying to prove a point. Maybe try and keep the same formula going until something clicks. But clearly, there's a lot of disjointment there, and there's the lack of a kind of a game plan. And if there is a game plan, then it's certainly not being implemented by the players because, it's quite telling in their performances. I think Forest have had a semi-decent start to the season. Okay, very tricky kind of opening game fixture at the Emirates to the Arsenal. But in that second half, they showed that they do have some quality in them. They obviously pulled the goal back and just managed to lose out by a close 2-1 margin. They then went on to play Sheffield United in the Friday night fixture last week. Ran out 2-1 winners against them, and rightfully so because I think they were the better of the two teams. They've got a couple of good options in and around their squad, especially up front with the big, strong striker Awoniyi. Obviously, you mentioned Brennan Johnson, the likes of Morgan Gibbs-White. Big, heavy investment on him, 40 million, I think, and another crucial player to the England under-21 European Championship winning team. Vital attacking component for them there. It wouldn't surprise me to see Nottingham Forest turn up and get something from that game. It'd be a bit of an ask because, yeah, they've still got the likes of Scott McKenna and Joe Worrell playing in a central defensive back three, who are not really defenders that you can hang your hat on at this top level playing Premier League football. Their wing backs impressed me. Serge Aurier, club captain, and Nico Williams, obviously, shout out the Welshman there. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if if Nottingham turned up against a vulnerable United team and they managed to do them damage. At the most, I can probably see them nicking a draw, but it just depends on what kind of United show up. I think that this will be the game that Ten Hag absolutely needs to get done and dusted with nailed on 3 points. And if he doesn't, then yes, serious questions need to be asked about the manager.
Well, you're right, because sorry to interrupt you there, but if they do not win this game and he does not get a result, the next game, Arsenal, the game after that, Brighton, the game after that, Burnley. Right? None of them are no mugs. I mean, with the style of play they play, give United trouble. Every single one of them teams. You know what I mean?
I think Burnley just beat United in a closed doors friendly 3-0 comfortably, 70% possession. The likes of Donny van der Beek and a couple of other first team semi regulars.
Maguire.
Let's call Scott McTominay, Harry Maguire.
McTominay.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't really put the likes of newly promoted Burnley to the sword and their backup team, I'm not sure I'm not sure how that bodes for the rest of for when you do face them in real Premier League fixtures. I can call this one a draw. I can see maybe a 2-2 draw. Yeah, that's how I'm going with it.
Okay, well, I'm gonna say I think we're gonna see a well, I'll say what I think and what I hope. I think we're gonna. I think it's going to be a draw, myself, personally, but I hope we're going to see a different United. I hope we're going to see a United with a striker. I hope we're going to see Rashford in his correct position. And I hope with Eriksen in there, we're going to have a better balance in the midfield. Okay? Hopefully that Alvarez Fernandez starts on the left wing, because it's a bit more exciting to see a young kid who has come through the academy, who obviously does want to play. I really want to see him, but I'm expecting Delot to play on the left, if I'm really honest with you. I think Delot's got to question himself if he isn't starting as well.
He's shown himself to be quite competent and capable playing at left back. I think it was the away game against Forest where he broke the deadlock and scored for you guys. Did he not?
Yeah.
From left. Well, so here we go again. It could be the same thing.
Yeah, but I'm hoping United will go out and dominate the game. 70% possession, 2-0 win, United, but I got a feeling it's probably going to be a draw, if I'm really honest.
Yeah.
Seems like we can only play 45 minutes of half-decent football these days, but yeah, so that's that game. Yeah, and the last one then of today's fixtures, obviously, is the Brighton versus West Ham.
Wow.
Look, for me, Brighton are absolutely phenomenal. The way they played against Wolves, considering Wolves obviously had a really good result against United the week beforehand as well. They're just quite. We speak about them all the time, don't we? Let's be honest now. They're just pure quality. West Ham, obviously, they're going to come against a West Ham who are deep lying defenders. Play with a really good, solid defensive line. Really hard to break down, but if there's any team that can break them down, it would be a Brighton. I do think that Matoma's going to struggle in this game, and I'll tell you why. I think they're going to really target him, try and isolate him. I do. I really do. I think Zuma, obviously, Kurt Zuma has been playing really well lately as well. So I think he's going to be a really standout one to watch in that game. But I do think Matoma is going to struggle simply because they're going to swallow him.
Yeah, Kurt Zuma was excellent in the Chelsea win. Obviously, people who know me know that I'm not his biggest fan whatsoever after all of the shenanigans with the cat and what have you. I don't think he should be playing football whatsoever, and he should probably be in a jail somewhere after abusing an animal like that, But we move on from that. I guess keep politics and religion out of this and just keep it strictly football. He was exceptional. He was an absolute colossus at the back when they beat Chelsea 3-1 last weekend. They were resolute, they were stout, they were good defensively, they were threatening on the counter attack. Mikel Antonio kind of rolling back the years, even though he's not that old, but you know what I mean. He's been there for what feels like forever, leading that line. This is a player who kind of came in initially and started as a right back for them. and would occasionally play right midfield, and now he's kind of been transitioned into as a complete striker. And yeah, he got his just rewards with his wonderful goal that he scored against Chelsea last week. I think that to spinning Levi Colwill on the half turn and being very clever with the finish to put them 2-1 ahead. So yeah, there are a couple of good bits and pieces for West Ham to kind of look at as far as
Ward-Prowse
potentially,
as well. You got to look at Ward-Prowse.
yes.
I think he's very, very good signing for them. I think that's his level. I don't mean to be rude to him. I don't want to, like, you know what I mean. But I think that's his level. I think West Ham is a perfect place for him to be. I think you'll excel there, and I think you last week you've seen that as well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've been a big admirer of James Ward-Prowse. Obviously, a very experienced Premier League midfielder, ex Southampton club captain. Obviously,
Yeah,
very proficient from set pieces, from corners, free kicks, long distance strikes, and of course, the short pass distribution and long range distribution as well. A very underrated player and a very untypical British player, I would say. We don't have
mm,
too many kind of set piece specialists in the English game, certainly
no,
from the English Isles. So yeah, he's certainly a rare one and one to keep an eye out for. He just slots in nicely there in that central defensive midfield pivot with him and Thomas Suchek, obviously filling the massive void left by Declan Rice. They've still got good attacking options, the likes of Jared Bowen providing good width.
Anthony,
Uh,
Antonio or whatever his name is.
yeah, Miguel Antonio leading the line right down the middle. Saeed
Mm.
Benrahma, obviously causing havoc with
Bowen,
his pace. Yeah, I mentioned Bowen, and we can't
forgot him.
forget we can't obviously forget Lucas Paqueta, the much sought after Brazilian attacking number 10 midfielder. Big £50 million signing from Lyon last season. Most would say flattered to deceive, but he starts for Brazil. The Brazil managers like him. He links up well with Neymar, and I think if you're on the same wavelength with the likes of the Neymar, then you have to be a good footballer in some way or
Mm.
capacity, which is why he always gets constantly picked ahead of other names who fans I think would be expecting to start ahead of him for Brazil. Yeah, Aguerd, I just want to shout him out as well. I think he's a Moroccan centre back, Naif Aguerd, broke the deadlock last week to put West Ham 1-0 up against Chelsea. Again, him beside Kurt Zuma, absolutely astute defensive display from them last week. And yeah, I think they've got a good foundation to build off of, and they can potentially look at maybe getting something out of this game. But as we said and predicted, of course, Brighton were my team to watch for this season. And of course, they're leading the league to the top of the table. I think they scored 4 goals in their last game, and was it 4? Was it 5? I think it was 5 in their the game before that. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the goal difference is there. The goal numbers are there. They've already conceded 1 goal. Roberto De Zerbi's got them playing football from another planet. Even though he's been there for about a quarter of the time that Ten Hag has, he seems to have managed to be getting more out of his team and his lineup and his personnel. Even if you look through their squad, I mean, they're not really littered with world-class attacking talent. You know, you've got a kind of a makeshift situation there with veteran James Milner being brought in to play right back. You got then it's kind of offset by the likes of Ernest Stupinian, who's like a bright, fresh, kind of energetic addition to that lineup, who's obviously
Mm-hmm.
got a full Premier League season under his belt now. Billy Gilmore, I think, has slotted in quite nicely and comfortably in.
Beautiful. I love Gilmore, man. I love his style of play. I love him.
Yeah, very young, tidy, neat Scottish little midfielder.
I think the midfield is going to be a really big clash today. I think it's going to be really good to see. Obviously, the midfields go together. I think we've got two really informed midfields,
Yeah,
and it'd be really good to see. Obviously, you got March and Lallana as well. So yeah. So I think for me, what are you saying? Score prediction. I'll do mine first then. I think it will be 2-0 Brighton.
I think West Ham could nick something because they did look quite threatening against Chelsea, and obviously scoring 3 goals. That tells you they do have
Mm-hmm.
goals in the team. But obviously they're up against the most informed team in the league for me, as far as I'm concerned. And yeah, I'm going to have to call it for a Brighton victory today. But I think they'll be made to work, and I think West Ham will do some damage in their own sense, in their own regard. But I think Brighton will just have too much. I mean, they are almost by head and shoulders one of the top 3 teams in the league right now based on form. So
The
yeah, we'll
bookies
call
have got him at
it a
250
3-1.
to 1. Was it
Uh-huh.
3-1? Sorry.
Yeah.
3-1. Brighton to win the league, 250 to 1
Oh,
from
okay.
2000 to 1.
Can't really, yeah. Just to say, to kind of lay it out straight. Can't really promote betting or gambling on my part. But if
Yeah.
that does say anything, I mean that says that well, I think it'd still be a big ask, no matter, irrespective of how they perform, and to expect them to win the league. Bearing in mind that I think they're playing European football this season now,
Do you reckon
right?
that'll affect them?
I think it affects every team. Yeah, and you're going to need a
Yeah.
squad to manage the expectancy of challenging on 4 fronts. Yeah, a bit of an ask for them to expect that from them. But if they finish in one of the top 6 places, if not top 5, potentially top 4, then yeah, I think that'll be a hell of an achievement. But I look at their squad and I think it might be stretched a bit too thin to be looking at to be having those expectations. I'm afraid, just in my personal opinion.
Fair enough, fair enough. Right then, so that's today's games. We'll be back tomorrow morning, everybody. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with a friend. Tomorrow morning, we're going to be looking at the games from today, and we're going to be looking at the Sunday fixtures, which is obviously Burnley, Aston Villa, Sheffield United, Man City, Newcastle, Liverpool. Going into a bit more depth because obviously it's only 3 fixtures. But yeah, thanks guys for watching. Enjoy. Take care. Much love. Norè. Catch you later.
Adios.